Welcome back to our channel, where we dive deep into the fascinating history of coins from around the world. Today, we're exploring a coin that holds not only monetary value but also cultural and historical significance. The United States Washington quarter is one of the most recognized coins in American history. In 1966, the United States Mint struck Washington quarters during a very important transitional period in American coinage history. Many people believe that all quarters before 1965 were made of silver and those after were not, but 1965, 1966, and 1967 were special years because the mint removed silver from circulating quarters and shifted to a copper-nickel-clad composition. The quarter from 1966, including those from Denver with the D mint mark, was therefore not struck in silver for circulation. Instead, these coins were composed of an inner core of copper and an outer layer of nickel, giving them the silver-colored appearance but without any actual silver content. This was done because rising silver prices in the early 1960s made it too expensive for the government to continue striking circulating quarters from precious metal. The Washington quarter design, created by John Flanagan in 1932, remained in use in 1966. The obverse shows the portrait of George Washington with the word Liberty above and the date below. The reverse depicts an eagle with wings spread, perched on arrows with olive branches beneath. By 1966, this design had already become a familiar sight in American commerce, and the coin was produced in extremely high numbers to satisfy the demands of circulation. Although many collectors look for silver quarters, the 1966 issue is interesting because it represents the first full year after the transition away from silver, and for that reason it holds a place in numismatic history. When a coin from 1966 is described as large date, dirty, blackened, and scratched, it usually refers to a heavily circulated piece. Over decades of handling, storage, and exposure to moisture and the environment, the surfaces of the coin darken. Dirt can settle into the recesses of the design, and oxidation or tarnish can give the coin a black shade. Collectors sometimes prize attractive natural toning, but black grime or uneven discoloration generally lowers the appeal. Scratches, whether from circulation or attempts to clean the coin, further reduce the grade and value. Grading for a coin like this usually falls into the lower circulated categories, such as good or very good, where the design is still visible but lacks detail, and eye appeal is poor. The 1966 Denver quarter had a large mintage, meaning there are millions of examples still surviving. Because the coin contains no silver and is not rare, its value in worn condition is generally very close to face value. Auction results show that circulated 1,966 quarters with scratches and black discoloration normally bring between 25 cents and perhaps $1 if someone is looking for a type coin. Dealers typically will not pay more than face value for a coin in such condition. Uncirculated examples, by contrast, can bring higher prices, ranging from a few dollars up to $20 or more if graded mint state by professional services. Exceptional high-grade pieces or special mint set versions can sell for even more. But the majority of coins like the one described, with wear, dirt, and scratches, remain common. Collectors should also be careful not to confuse circulated 1966 clad quarters with proof or special mint set strikes. Special mint sets produced in San Francisco between 1965 and 1967 sometimes contain coins with superior surfaces and finishes, and those can be worth more, especially in higher grades. But a normal 1966 D coin that has been in circulation for nearly 60 years and now shows black dirt and scratches will not fetch a premium. Cleaning is also not recommended, since removing the dirt with harsh methods can leave marks that are obvious under magnification and further lower value. Overall, the 1966 Washington quarter with a Denver mint mark, large date, black shade, dirty appearance, and scratches is a common circulation coin without silver content. Its market value today is around its face value of 25 cents to perhaps a small premium of $1 or $2 in auctions if a buyer needs the date and mint for a collection. In higher mint state grades the coin can command more, but in worn, scratched, and dirty condition it remains a historical artifact rather than a valuable collectible. It still tells an important story, marking the era when the United States transitioned away from silver coinage, and for that reason alone it has a place in the hobby even if its dollar value is modest. In the world of coin collecting, even an ordinary-looking piece of change can hold a fascinating story, and today the focus is on the United States Washington quarter from 1982, struck at the Denver Mint, carrying the D Mint mark, with a large date style and showing dark black shading and dirty circulated condition. At first glance, such a coin may seem too common to be worth discussing, but when you look closer you discover that coins like this actually have a lot to tell us, both about the history of American coinage and about their value in today's collector and auction market. The Washington Quarter series began in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Initially minted in 90% silver, this design became a staple of American pocket change. After 1964, however, due to rising silver prices, the United States Mint transitioned to a clad composition of copper and nickel rather than silver. That means that by 1982, quarters like the one we are talking about were no longer silver pieces, even though people sometimes still casually call them silver quarters because of their color. Instead, these coins were made from a copper core sandwiched between layers of copper-nickel alloy. The Denver Mint, represented by the small D Mint mark on the reverse side of the coin, produced millions of quarters in 1982. At that time, the U.S. Mint also made a surprising decision that would affect the collectability of these coins for decades to come. In both 1982 and 1983, the Mint did not issue official uncirculated mint sets. As a result, obtaining high-grade uncirculated examples of quarters from these 2 years is more difficult than for many other years of the series. Collectors today recognize that detail, and they often place a higher value on pristine 1982 and 1983 quarters than they do on other clad Washington quarters from the same general era. The coin in question is described as a large date variety with the D Mint mark. For many collectors, the differences between large date and small date varieties are much more noticeable in Lincoln cents and other coins, but some hobbyists do use the term for the quarter as well when the numerals of the date appear bolder or wider. Whether this is an official major variety or more of a casual observation, the date style can be part of what makes your coin distinct. More obvious in your example is the condition. This quarter shows heavy black shading and dirt, which gives it an almost burned or aged look. In numismatic terms this could be classified as heavy toning, grime, or simple discoloration from years of circulation. Generally speaking, this reduces value because collectors prefer coins with clean surfaces and natural luster. Only in rare cases where toning forms colorful patterns does dark toning increase a coin's desirability. When it comes to market value, condition is everything. A 1982 D Washington quarter in circulated condition with heavy wear, dirt, or discoloration typically trades for very modest sums, sometimes just slightly more than face value. Realistically, such a coin may be worth about $1 to $3 in today's collector and auction market, provided that it is not damaged beyond recognition. If the coin retains some decent details and the dirt is not hiding major features, the value might stretch up toward $5 or perhaps even $10 if the right buyer is interested. However, when we move into the higher condition categories such as about uncirculated or fully uncirculated mint state examples, the price increases sharply. Professional price guides and auction records show that an uncirculated 1982 D quarter in MS-65 can sell for several dozen dollars, and in MS-66 or higher it can exceed $90 or more. Certified MS-67 examples have been known to reach several $100s because they are scarce and desirable. For your coin, described as dirty and black in shade, the reality is that it falls on the lower end of the spectrum. Collectors might find it interesting for a low-cost purchase, but the premium is not significant. The only exceptions to this would be if your coin displayed an unusual error, such as a double die, off-center strike, or die cracks. Error coins from this year can command significant premiums, sometimes hundreds of dollars depending on the severity. Without such an error, however, the dark tone and circulated condition mean the value remains fairly modest. It is worth noting that cleaning coins is generally discouraged. Even though the coin looks dirty, attempting to clean it can easily damage the surface and lower its appeal to serious collectors. Leaving it as it is may be the better option unless a professional conservator is involved. Collectors often value originality more than brightness. So, in conclusion, the 1982 D Washington quarter with a large date style, dark black shade, and dirty circulated condition is an interesting piece of American coinage history. While it does not hold high value in the current auction market, usually ranging from $1 to perhaps $5 in this state, it still tells a story of how everyday coins survive through decades of use, how mint decisions like skipping sets in 1982 can shape collectability, and how condition is the key factor in determining value. High-grade examples from this year can be surprisingly valuable, but circulated and dirty pieces like this remain more of a sentimental or educational collectible rather than a financial treasure. Even so, coins like these keep collectors searching, studying, and enjoying the endless details hidden in the history of U.S. coinage. Next coin. In 1988 the United States Mint continued the long-running Washington Quarter series, producing millions of coins at several locations, including the Denver Mint, which is identified by the small D mint mark. The quarter from that year, dated 1988 with a large date style, is often encountered in everyday circulation even today. Many of these pieces show heavy wear, and the example being discussed is in dirty condition with a blackened surface, some scratches, and clear signs of use. Although it is sometimes mistakenly thought of as a silver coin, the 1988 business strike quarter from Denver was in fact made of copper-nickel-clad composition. By 1965, the Mint had ended production of silver circulation quarters, so the 1988 D is not silver, but a common modern clad coin weighing 5.67 grams and measuring 24.3 millimeters in diameter. Only special proof sets produced in San Francisco were made in 90% silver for collectors during the 1980s, but standard Denver quarters like this one contained no silver. The Washington quarter itself has a long history. First introduced in 1932 to mark George Washington's 200th anniversary, the design by John Flanagan features the profile portrait of the nation's first president on the obverse, while the reverse shows an eagle with wings spread. For decades this design dominated American coinage, becoming one of the most familiar coins in circulation. By 1988, the quarter had been struck in the copper-nickel-clad format for over 20 years, and the Denver Mint was responsible for striking hundreds of millions of coins that year. This large production means that the 1988 D is not rare in itself, and most examples hold little value above face unless preserved in unusually fine condition. Condition is the main driver of value. A coin described as dirty, black shade, and scratched generally falls into the lower end of the grading scale. Collectors and grading services like PCGS or NGC evaluate coins from good, where details are barely visible, up to mint state, where no wear is present and surfaces retain full luster. A coin with scratches and discoloration loses much of its eye appeal, and those factors lower grade significantly. Dirt and black toning can sometimes be natural patina, but if it obscures details or appears as corrosion, it is considered damage. Scratches, whether from circulation or mishandling, are permanent and usually reduce desirability among collectors. Auction results reflect these realities. A typical 1988 D quarter in circulated condition often trades for just 25 cents, essentially its face value. A coin with heavy wear, black shade, dirt, and scratches is unlikely to bring more than this. Occasionally, a collector putting together a date and mint set might pay 50 cents to $1 for a reasonably clear example, but most dealers will not pay above face. The only way a 1988 D quarter reaches higher values is if it survives in mint state condition, where bright surfaces, sharp details, and no wear are visible. In such cases values can rise to $10 or $15 depending on grade. Certified coins at MS 66 or above can sell for even more, but those are the exceptions, not the rule. It is also important to remember that rare mint errors can greatly increase value. Off-center strikes, doubled dies, or coins missing their clad layers can be valuable even if the base coin is common. For the 1988 D, however, standard worn coins with scratches and dirt do not fall into this category. Without a major error, the piece remains a low-value example. Some owners think of cleaning scratched or dirty coins, but this almost always reduces value. Harsh cleaning leaves marks that graders can see, and it may make the coin look unnaturally bright. Collectors usually prefer original surfaces, even if dirty, over polished ones. For that reason it is better to leave the coin in its natural condition rather than attempt to restore it. In today's auction market, a dirty, scratched 1988 D quarter with black discoloration would realistically sell for its face value of 25 cents. In the best case it might attract a buyer willing to pay up to $1 for the date and mint combination, but rarely more. High-grade or silver-proof versions from San Francisco are the ones that can command significant premiums. Still, even a lowly circulated 1988 D quarter represents a piece of America's coinage history, a coin that has passed through countless hands and carried the nation's commerce for decades. Though not valuable in dollar terms, it remains a tangible connection to the broader story of the Washington Quarter series and continues to hold sentimental and collectible interest. Next coin. The 1993 Washington Quarter struck at the Denver Mint with the D Mint mark is a familiar coin to collectors and the general public. By this year the Washington Quarter had been in continuous circulation for more than 60 years, and the Denver facility struck hundreds of millions of pieces to meet the needs of commerce across the United States. Although often described as silver by some people, the standard business strike 1993 quarters from Denver were made from copper-nickel clad, weighing 5.67 grams and measuring 24.3 millimeters in diameter. Only special proof sets struck in San Francisco contained 90% silver quarters, so the ordinary 1993 D pieces are not silver, but they do carry numismatic value when preserved in high condition or when sought by collectors assembling complete date and mint mark sets. The large date style seen on the coin is the standard presentation of the year 1993, with clear numerals placed beneath the portrait of George Washington. The obverse continues to feature Washington facing left, while the reverse shows the heraldic eagle with outstretched wings clutching arrows and olive branches, a design that remained until the state quarters were introduced later in the decade. For the Denver Mint, the D Mint mark appears just to the right of the ribbon at the base of Washington's portrait. This small letter identifies the origin of the coin and is one of the first details collectors look for when evaluating a quarter from this era. Condition is the main factor in determining the value of any 1993 D quarter. The example described here is in black color shade, dirty condition, and shows some scratches. These are all signs of heavy circulation. The dark appearance often comes from oxidation, contact with moisture, or simple buildup of grime during decades of handling. Collectors sometimes appreciate gentle toning when it produces colorful hues, but a dull black surface generally lowers the eye appeal. Scratches are another major drawback. They suggest the coin was mishandled or contacted hard surfaces over time, and grading services will mark such coins down. A coin like this will likely fall into the lowest grading categories, such as good or very good, where most of the fine details are lost and the surfaces are unattractive. When compared to higher grade examples, the difference is significant. A 1993 D Washington quarter in uncirculated mint state, with bright luster and no wear, can sell for several dollars and in some cases around $10 to $15 when graded by a professional service. Exceptional coins in top grades like MS-66 or MS-67 can fetch more at auction because they are much scarcer than worn pieces. Proof silver coins from 1993, produced in San Francisco, can also sell for higher values due to their precious metal content and limited mintages. But a Denver circulation coin in dirty, blackened condition with scratches will not attract the same interest or price levels. In today's auction market, circulated 1993 D quarters generally sell close to face value. Dealers often buy them for 25 cents and may sell them for a slight premium if the coin is attractive. When scratches and dirt are present, the value usually stays right at face, maybe stretching up to 50 cents or $1 if someone simply wants the date to fill a collection. The scratches in particular lower the desirability because they cannot be removed without further damaging the coin, and grading companies label such surfaces as damaged. For that reason, collectors looking for quality will bypass scratched examples in favor of cleaner ones. Still, the coin tells an interesting story. Every scratch and every bit of discoloration shows that it passed through countless hands and purchases since 1993. While not valuable in a financial sense, it is a tangible piece of the nation's everyday economic history. For a collector who enjoys completing a set of Washington quarters, even a worn 1993 D might serve as a placeholder until a higher quality coin is found. For others, it may simply remain as a keepsake or conversation piece.